TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Question for the panel is, how did your names come about? Did someone tag you with it, or did you come up with it yourself? And the question for Dusty, did you ever face Terry Funk?
Everyone knows that the longest feud in our industry is me and Terry Funk, still to this day. But I was just listening to these guys here. I don't think you guys really understand. I mean, I'm not saying you're stupid, obviously, none of you. No, I would never do that. But the opportunity to sit and talk to history is an amazing thing. And I always look at the History Channel, and I look at things that happened in the past. I think the past is the future in our industry, and we have to just sitting here listening to everybody with their opinion, and sitting down from the Brandon Bull, Paul Arndorf, a guy that really took WrestleMania to a new level. Bad News Bears. Bad News Allen or the Bad News Bears, and but we grew up in the same hood. He knew from a long time ago when we talked, the way I felt about no matter what race, creed, or color. And Bobby and everyone here, it's an honor that you're listening to history, guys. It's just amazing. And you come into these things, whether it's 50 people or 40 people, there should be 10,000 people here. This is history. It's amazing to talk openly about our industry like these guys do. The hammer. It's just crazy. My name came from a baseball player. My dad was a big fan of the Giants back in '54. I believe Bobby Dusty Rhodes was
Giants.
New York Giants hit home runs in the World Series. I lived on a street that wasn't paved till I was 15 in East Austin, and I grew up always nicknamed a Dusty. And Danny Fletcher, Bulldog Danny Fletcher from Dallas, one of Fritz von Erich's main lieutenants, throw the name Rhodes on there, and the rest is history. Except when I went to Canada for the first year that I was in the industry, one town in Canada called me Sandy Reynolds. One was Sandy Rhodes, and the other one was New Faces Match, which I liked the best. So I looked on the card and said, I'm not on the card, but down at the bottom it said New Faces Match. So that was Victor the Bear. Harley remembers this. Victor in Kansas City, Harley did this to me. It said, Victor the Bear versus New Face. So there's only one kid running around there, 19. Harley was like 35 at the time. And,
but Harvey's gonna be the bear bitch next
yeah, well, I'm only joking, but so that's how I got my dad really, I was always called Dusty, so, American Dream is in all of us, so that goes along with it.
I got my name. My first name is Ray, and Wilbur Snyder and Dick DeBruzer, who broke me in the business, changed it to Bobby, because in Chicago at that time, Buddy Rogers was there with a manager named Bobby Davis. So I got the name from Bobby Davis, who I got to meet later on in life, and he made out pretty good. He's got about 20 Winnie hamburgers in San Bernardino, so we're doing pretty well, but I got the name after Bobby Davis.
Myself, nothing special to my name. I don't have any kind of history like that. It's something pretty much made up or picked out of a hat. Nothing special.
Tito Santana came from, I started working for, and most of us worked for Vince Sr. And when the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, came to New York, I just tugged along with him. I just came and with no problems whatsoever. And Vince McMahon saw me work, and he told me that he wanted me to get a better name than what I had. My real name is Merced Solis, and there's no ring to Merced. So he said, you need to have a catchy name. I always liked the name Santana, probably from the group Santana, and I went, the very first TV after that I did for Vince, he told me you're going to be Tino Santana, Tino, and I went in the ring and I signed a couple of autographs. It was my first TV, not too many people wanted my autograph. And I signed as Tino Santana, and when I walked through the curtains, Vince McMahon grabbed me and he said, no, you're going to be Tito Santana from now on. And I did 1 hour of Tino and then 17 years of Tito.
This is vintage autographs.
Bobby, what was the question?
What you think I know? I'm only what you manage at one time.
The name Harley Race my parents gave to me. When I first broke into business, I decided I'd wrestle. Everybody had a stage name, so I come up with one too, with the name of Jack Long. I came back home, my parents asked me, "Where have you been? We haven't heard anything about you." I said, "Well, I'm wrestling under a different name." They said, "Well, don't you think you got kind of a unique name all on your own, Harley Race?" I haven't changed it since. And been fairly successful with that.
Mine actually started many, many years ago. I was 18 years old. I had a wife for 4 years, and unfortunately, he had committed suicide. And at that time, it was a very changing point in my life. I'm touching her in that shape. And, but at the time, I just looked at my life and just decided to make a change. And I didn't like who I was or where I was going and what I was accomplishing. And I just said, that's it. I got to take responsibility for my life. And from that point on, I chose to call myself Dawn Marie because my middle name is Marie. So that's just what I called myself. It was sort of like my change into becoming the person I want to be, not what I was at that time.
I started in the business in Japan itself, and Antonio Inuki was the owner of the company. And when I first got there, they actually gave me the name of Buffalo Allen because they had some kind of contest in Japan for somebody to come up with a name because they knew me from judo. And they came up with this name Buffalo, which I couldn't stand. I thought it was a terrible name. But finally, Antonio Inuki says, "Well, we're thinking of making you a heel because just your mannerism and your facials and everything. But you got to come up with a different name." Well, the reason I had the name was coming in from judo because I was the AU national champion 5 times. And one time we had every year we'd have a national tournament. I won it 5 times, but one year I went to the nationals. And Pat Boris, who was on the Olympic team with me, he was a middle lightweight. He just happened to be standing there, and they used to have a big board up, and they'd have everybody's names on it, with the weight class you were in, who were you going to compete against, and everything. So this one guy, he was pretty big, and he was in my weight class, and he was going to compete against me. And he looked up at the board, and he saw he was going up against me. So then, and plus I was a defending champ and everything, and they said, he says to Pat, he looks over and he goes, "Is he really as bad as they say he is?" No, he says, "Is he really as good as they say he is?" And Pat looked at him and says, "That guy is bad news." So he actually stuck the name on me. So through my career in judo, and actually Pat was on the, like I said, he was on the Olympic team with me. I got out there, so Inuki says to me, "Okay, we need to come up with a different name because I hate that name." I said, "Thank goodness, because I hate it too." So he says, "Pick one." I said, "Well, why don't they use the name they used in judo for me?" He said, "What was that?" I said, "Bad News Allen." He said, "Okay, that's the name." That's how my name became. When I went to the WWF, they changed it to Brown, but I always wrestled as Bad News Allen.
Well, fortunately, Johnny Valentine, my father, made it easy for me to find a name. So Valentine, I got that from him, of course, and a lot of tradition with the name Valentine. And then I was nicknamed the Hammer by North Carolina TV announcer by the name of Bob Cottle. When I used to drop that elbow, or I'd bend a guy with the top rope and hit him over the chest, I go, "Here comes the hammer," and it just stuck right in the hammer down.